It's a tough break for Tory Lanez, no doubt about it. But the reality is, this entire situation didn't have to escalate the way it did. The biggest takeaway? Sometimes silence really is the smartest move. In the world of fame, controversy, and ego, saying less can often save a life. That line exploded across social media on May 12, 2025. A day already packed with headlines that had the entire hip-hop world in a chokehold. While Diddy's court battle took center stage and Lil Wayne was making waves for allegedly kicking his girlfriend and her child out of the house, it was the name Tory Lanez that sent shockwaves across the internet. Not for a new album, not for an appeal, but for something far darker. Tory Lanez, currently serving time for the infamous shooting involving Megan Thee Stallion, was reportedly stabbed 14 times inside California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi. That's not an exaggeration or a clickbait headline. 14. Multiple reports confirm the numbers, and this wasn't some prison brawl over phone time or commissary beef. Early sources say this was a calculated attack. Deep wounds, not shallow, not warnings. These were meant to do damage. The kind of attack that makes you wonder, was this just random prison violence, or is there a deeper story we're not being told? In this video, we're unpacking everything, from the timeline of the attack to how Tory's past choices may have played a role in what just went down behind those prison walls. Trust me, this isn't just about gossip, it's about consequences, patterns, and the ugly truth behind fame, silence, and survival. Stay locked in. At approximately 7:20 a.m., chaos erupted inside California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi. Tory Lanez was reportedly ambushed in the prison yard by another inmate in what authorities are calling a targeted attack. This wasn't just a random altercation or prison brawl, this was a brutal, calculated assault. According to inside sources, the attack was swift, violent, and personal. Tory was left with 14 stab wounds in total, 7 to the back, 4 to the torso, 2 to the back of the head, and 1 across the left side of his face. That last one, it may leave a permanent dent or scar, with one source comparing it to the infamous cheek wound 50 Cent carried after surviving a near-fatal shooting. But the damage didn't stop at skin-deep injuries. Officials later confirmed that both of Tory's lungs had collapsed during the attack, a medical emergency that left him unable to breathe without mechanical assistance. He was immediately rushed to a hospital in Bakersfield and placed on a breathing apparatus. For a while, things were touch and go. His life hung in the balance. A double lung collapse isn't something you just bounce back from. It's a critical injury that requires intensive care, close monitoring, and a long road to recovery. The fact that he survived the initial trauma is shocking enough. But in a facility where medical care is limited and delayed, his survival almost feels like a miracle. Now here's where things get even more complicated. As of this recording, Tory Lanez is reportedly in stable condition and breathing on his own again. He's even talking, said to be in good spirits according to unnamed sources inside. But let's be real. A couple of deep stab wounds and collapsed lungs aren't just battle scars. They're potential death sentences if complications like internal bleeding, infection, or respiratory failure set in. He may have survived the attack, but he's not out of danger just yet, and that uncertainty has sparked concern among fans and critics alike. Everyone's watching, waiting, and wondering, who ordered the hit? And will Tory make it out of this prison sentence alive? If you're wondering why no one has been officially named, arrested, or even questioned in connection with Tory Lanez's stabbing, the answer lies in a brutal, unspoken truth of prison life. Snitching is a death sentence. In the world behind bars, silence isn't just encouraged, it's enforced. No matter how vicious the attack, the convict code demands that inmates keep their mouths shut. Reporting anything to prison staff, especially something as serious as a stabbing, immediately brands you a snitch. And once that label sticks, your life becomes exponentially more dangerous. It doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or a nobody. Once you're marked, you're prey. That's the twisted reality Tory is now facing. He's lying in a hospital bed with collapsed lungs and 14 stab wounds, knowing full well that the man, or men, who nearly killed him could be walking freely in the yard again within days. And because of prison politics, he can't name names, press charges, or even give guards a hint. Doing so could spark even more violence, not just against him, but possibly against anyone associated with him on the inside. That's how deeply rooted the code of silence runs. Survival often depends less on justice and more on keeping your head down and your mouth shut, even when your life's at stake. This is the part of the prison system most people never see. It's not just about bars and bunk beds. It's about navigating a minefield of power dynamics, unspoken rules, and constant threats. And for someone like Tory Lanez, a high-profile figure already dealing with the weight of a public conviction, that pressure multiplies. Fame doesn't protect you. It makes you a bigger target. Whether this attack was personal, political, or something else entirely, one thing is clear. Tory's not just fighting for his recovery, he's fighting to stay alive in a system where silence might be the only thing keeping him that way. So why would someone want Tory Lanez dead? That's the million-dollar question. And the truth is, in prison, you don't always get a clear answer. Behind those walls, logic doesn't always apply. Some attacks are rooted in deep-set politics, some are messages meant for others, and some are fueled by nothing more than pride, jealousy, or the need to earn respect. Violence in prison doesn't need a justification. Sometimes it's just about proving dominance. And when you're a high-profile inmate like Tory, you automatically become a symbol, one that people either want to challenge or destroy. Tory Lanez didn't stop being a celebrity when he got locked up. He's still the guy with platinum records, millions of followers, and a reputation that stretches far beyond prison gates. That kind of fame doesn't fade behind bars. It amplifies. Inmates know who he is, guards know who he is, and that attention alone can be a death sentence. In a place where most men have been forgotten by the outside world, someone like Tory becomes an instant lightning rod. To a lifer with nothing to lose, attacking him isn't just personal, it's strategic. It sends a message. I can touch the untouchable. Then there's the other layer, the one no one wants to say out loud. Tory Lanez has always been outspoken, controversial, and unapologetically loud. That same energy that made him a star on the outside, it doesn't always fly on the inside. Flash, ego, and attitude can paint a target on your back faster than anything. If Tory rubbed someone the wrong way, even unintentionally, that might have been all it took. In the world of prison, where respect is currency and pride is everything, one wrong word, or even a perceived slight, can spark a deadly outcome. Let's rewind to the moment that changed everything. In December 2022, Tory Lanez was found guilty on 3 felony charges stemming from the 2020 shooting of Megan Thee Stallion. The case was a firestorm, one of the most polarizing celebrity trials in recent memory. Fans picked sides, hashtags trended for months, and the media couldn't look away. Every detail was scrutinized, from the night of the shooting to the social media posts that followed. It wasn't just a legal battle, it was a cultural war playing out in real time, where music, gender, race, and celebrity all collided in the courtroom. Prosecutors originally pushed for a sentence between 25 and 40 years. That kind of time would have essentially erased Tory Lanez from the music industry and maybe even public memory. But in the end, the judge handed down a 10-year sentence. To some, that felt like justice. To others, it felt like a miracle. The verdict itself didn't stop the debates. Even after the trial ended, the internet was still in flames. Some argued that the evidence was shaky. Others said the outcome was long overdue. But the one thing that everyone agreed on, Tory's public behavior didn't do him any favors. Because what really sealed his fate wasn't just the case, it was Tory's mouth. Instead of staying quiet and letting his legal team handle things, he doubled down. He released songs, dropped subliminals, and made public statements that only stirred the pot. At one point, he even directly addressed Megan on social media, denying the shooting and painting himself as the victim. In court, prosecutors used those very words against him. They said his lack of remorse, his refusal to take accountability, and his ongoing attempts to sway public opinion made things worse. And in hindsight, they were right. Those decisions may have cost him more than just years. They cost him peace, safety, and now, possibly his life. Instead of laying low after the incident, Tory Lanez did the exact opposite. He turned up the volume. He went on Instagram Live, dropped cryptic tweets, did interviews, and released entire albums filled with subliminal shots and innuendos. He painted himself as a man wrongfully accused, a victim of the machine, and used his platform to stir doubt. While most celebrities in his position would have gone quiet and let the courts do the talking, Tory doubled down. And the internet? It ate it up. Every time he spoke, he fueled more speculation, more division, and more chaos. He wasn't just fighting a legal battle, he was performing one. Meanwhile, Megan Thee Stallion chose a different route. For months, she stayed silent. She didn't cooperate with law enforcement at first. She left California. She wasn't on social media clapping back or defending herself 24/7. But that silence didn't protect her. In fact, it created a vacuum, and Tory filled it. The narrative shifted. Suddenly, people were accusing Megan of lying, manipulating the media, or being part of some elaborate industry setup. And at the center of it all was a steady stream of conspiracy theories, many of which were amplified, or at the very least never shut down, by Tory himself. The rumors were relentless. Claims that Roc Nation was trying to silence Tory, that Jay-Z wanted control over his masters, that Megan was planted by the industry to take him down. And Tory leaned into every bit of it. His quarantine radio broadcasts kept fans entertained. His music threw gas on the fire. His energy kept him trending. But what looked like strategy on the outside was self-sabotage in disguise. Because every view, every stream, every headline, it built a case, not for his innocence, but for his recklessness. And in the eyes of the court, and now, in prison, it's clear. Tory wasn't just battling the system, he was fueling the flames that would eventually engulf him. When Tory Lanez stood before the court and continued to claim his innocence, without ever naming an alternative suspect, his defense started to unravel in the public eye. Fans, critics, and even legal experts began asking the obvious question: if you didn't pull the trigger, then who did? And more importantly, if you know who did, why stay silent? Tory had every opportunity to shift the narrative, to offer clarity, or at the very least, raise reasonable doubt. But instead, he stuck to the vague middle ground. He didn't confess, but he didn't expose anyone either. Tory later said he was trying not to snitch, that he was following a code. But what did that code get him? 10 years behind bars, a shattered reputation, collapsed lungs, stab wounds, and a lifetime of being labeled a convicted felon. The cost of silence was steep. Whatever loyalty he thought he was showing to the streets or to some unspoken rule of honor, it wasn't returned. The moment he got locked up, the industry distanced itself. The fans got quieter. And now, even inside prison walls, that same code has made him a target. Because when you're famous and silent, people start making moves. At the end of the day, Tory Lanez played by street rules in a system that doesn't care about them. He protected a code that didn't protect him. He held it down for a culture that turned its back the moment things got real. Now, he's left to recover in a hospital bed, nearly killed, with no clear path forward. Not in the industry, not in the courts, not behind bars. The streets might not forget, but they also don't forgive. And in Tory's case, that silence may have cost him everything. So where does that leave Tory Lanez now? Hospitalized and fighting for his life after being stabbed 14 times inside a California prison. Those injuries weren't just deep, they were life-threatening. Both of his lungs collapsed, forcing him onto breathing machines. Every breath is a struggle, and every moment in that hospital bed is a stark reminder of how quickly things spiraled out of control. And yet, the most chilling part? Tory still doesn't know who attacked him, or if this violence will follow him beyond those prison walls. The reasons behind the stabbing remain unclear, but the consequences are brutally clear. Tory once had the world at his fingertips, ownership of his music, creative freedom, and chart-topping hits that made him a star in both rap and R&B circles. He was on a steady climb, building an empire from the ground up. But ego, silence, and a refusal to break the unspoken code changed everything. Instead of shutting down the beef early, Tory chose to keep playing both sides, refusing to stay quiet, but never fully speaking the truth either. That choice cost him more than just his freedom. Now, all that's left is a dangerous uncertainty. Tory's future is on shaky ground, his health, his reputation, and his career hanging by a thread. The story that once made headlines for music and controversy has turned into a cautionary tale about loyalty, pride, and the heavy price of silence. As Tory fights to recover, one harsh truth stands out. Sometimes, the right decision is the one that saves your life, even if it means losing everything else. This entire situation is undeniably tragic, no matter how you view it. There are still people who firmly believe Tory Lanez is innocent, others who stand by Megan Thee Stallion's account, and many who see this all as a tangled web of industry politics and power struggles. But beyond the headlines and debates, one hard truth remains: prison is unforgiving. It doesn't care if you once cruised in Bentleys or sold out stadiums. Behind those walls, the rules are clear, and breaking them can have deadly consequences in an instant. If you break the prison code, if you speak out of turn, or if you cross the wrong person, it can all come crashing down in seconds. Tory's stabbing is a brutal reminder that the streets don't love you back the way you might hope, and the system certainly doesn't have your back. When you're lying in a hospital bed, struggling to breathe with tubes in your chest, that silence doesn't feel like loyalty, it feels like regret. It's a harsh reality check for anyone who thinks fame or fortune can protect them from the cold, hard truth of prison life. So as we send prayers up for Tory Lanez's recovery, no matter which side of the story you're on, remember this: no one deserves to face violence and pain like this. This situation should make us all pause and reflect on loyalty, silence, and survival. What would you do if you were in Tory's shoes? Would silence save you, or would speaking the truth be your only way out? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear what you think.